My mom was seeing 5 separate specialists, taking 5 separate medications, and was frequently complimented by her doctors for being, quote, healthy. 13 days later, she was dead. Wow. Just imagine hearing those words. It's a completely shocking paradox of modern health, isn't it? Like, how does someone get managed by a team of top-tier doctors, get praised for their health relative to their age, and then just suddenly succumb to stage 4 pancreatic cancer? Well, today we're bringing you an explainer of Dr. Casey Means' absolutely paradigm-shifting book, Good Energy: The Surprising Connection Between Metabolism and Limitless Health. We're going to unpack the kind of terrifying reality of our modern medical system. But more importantly, we're going to look at the incredibly empowering and honestly pretty simple physiological phenomenon that can completely change how you feel, how you function, and how you age. Section 1. The Illusion of Normal Aging. So we live in a culture that has basically convinced us that steadily declining health is just a normal, unavoidable part of getting older, right? Our modern medical system has this incredibly dangerous habit of just normalizing escalating health warnings. Take Dr. Means' own mother, for example. In her 40s, she was diagnosed with elevated blood pressure. Her doctor literally said, "Oh, this is very common for women your age," and prescribed an ACE inhibitor. Then in her 50s, high cholesterol. Her doctor called it almost a rite of passage and handed her a statin. By her 60s, she developed prediabetes. And again, the doctor said, not of much concern, 50% of American adults qualify for this, and just gave her metformin. And then, at 71, stage 4 pancreatic cancer. And here is the real tragedy of this whole thing. When she was diagnosed with terminal cancer, her oncologists at Stanford Hospital called her unlucky. Unlucky. Despite a 30-year chain of glaring, flashing red metabolic warning signs, a rising waistline, rising blood pressure, rising cholesterol, rising blood sugar, her cancer was treated as this random, totally unfortunate event. The medical system managed her symptoms with pills for decades, but no one ever stopped to ask why all these conditions were happening together. But her story isn't some strange anomaly. It's actually the terrifying norm. Astonishingly, 93% of Americans are right now in the danger zone for at least one key metabolic marker. That means almost everyone you know is walking around with the exact same brewing metabolic dysfunction that ultimately killed Dr. Means' mother. And that widespread dysfunction translates directly to the staggering statistic, 80%. Preventable lifestyle conditions are responsible for 80% of modern human deaths. I mean, think about animals in the wild for a second. Lions and giraffes, they aren't out there dealing with rampant obesity, heart disease, or type 2 diabetes. Yet we're told that our increasing rates of chronic illness are just a normal part of being human. They absolutely aren't. Section 2. The siloed medical system. So why are these massive warning signs completely ignored? Well, it's because of how our healthcare system is fundamentally structured. It's built on extreme separation. Let me introduce you to Sophia. She's a 52-year-old patient Dr. Means treated back during her surgical residency. Now, Sophia had terrible recurrent sinus infections, but she also suffered from prediabetes, high blood pressure, back pain, and depression. She was completely trapped in this cycle, right? Seeing a different specialist for every single issue, getting a completely separate treatment plan and medication for each one. Not a single doctor was looking at the whole picture to find a root cause. And this really highlights a profound philosophical contrast. In our current model of siloed health, you have a neurologist for your brain, a cardiologist for your heart, and endocrinologist for your hormones. It's like a giant puzzle where everyone is holding one piece and nobody is looking at the picture on the box. But consider the alternative, energy-centric health. What if Sophia's sinus inflammation, depression, prediabetes, and high blood pressure weren't 4 completely different diseases? What if they were the exact same problem, just showing up in different parts of the body? Dr. Means was a top-tier surgical resident at a prestigious hospital. She literally operated on Sophia's sinuses, vacuuming out inflamed tissue just millimeters from her brain. But looking at her patient after surgery, she didn't feel proud. She actually felt defeated. She realized she was just cutting, drugging, and billing. Despite spending years learning how to surgically treat inflamed tissues day in and day out, she was never once taught what actually causes the inflammation in the human body. Section 3. The root cause, bad energy. All right, it's time to reveal the hidden truth behind the biggest lie in healthcare. Chronic illnesses are not incredibly complicated, random, and disconnected. They are almost all tied to the exact same foundational mechanism. To understand this,
We have to look at the actual science of metabolism. And I know, metabolism sounds like a textbook word, but it's simply the set of cellular mechanisms that transform food into energy that can power every single cell in your body. Dr. Means calls this optimal function good energy. When your cells can efficiently produce and distribute energy, you naturally have clear thinking, a balanced weight, a pain-free body, and strong immunity.
But here's the problem. We are currently living through a massive evolutionary mismatch. Our metabolic processes evolved over hundreds of thousands of years in perfect synergy with nature. Today, we work sedentary jobs, we sleep 25% less, we consume up to 3,000% more liquid fructose than we did a century ago because, let's face it, apparently everything needs to taste like candy nowadays. And we're exposed to over 80,000 synthetic chemicals in our daily environment. This modern environment literally poisons the machinery inside our cells. It tips normal metabolic function into systemic dysfunction. This is what we call bad energy. Now, because we have 200 different types of cells in the human body, this bad energy manifests differently depending on where it strikes. If bad energy happens in an ovarian cell, it looks like infertility or PCOS. If it happens in the blood vessel cells, it looks like erectile dysfunction or heart disease. In the liver, it's non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. In the brain, it's depression, migraines, or dementia. To specialized doctors, it looks like dozens of completely different diseases, but it's actually just bad energy showing up in different locations. We can visualize this as a terrible trickle-up effect. It all starts at step 1, bad energy, just a microscopic dysfunction in how a single cell produces power. Step 2, that leads to broken cells. Step 3, those broken cells clump together to create broken organs. And finally, step 4, broken organs lead to broken bodies. That's the chronic pain, the fatigue, and the diseases people experience every single day. And the crazy part? The medical system only ever treats step 4 while completely ignoring step 1. Section 4, the power of good energy. Okay, so here's the absolute most important takeaway of this entire explainer. Once you realize that metabolic health is not some random genetic lottery, literally everything changes. The core function that determines your predilection to disease is entirely under your control. By shifting our framework to this energy-centric paradigm, we can prioritize the very essence of what makes us tick. By just changing how we eat, how we move, how we sleep, and how we interact with our environment, we can actually heal ourselves, we can reverse disease, and create a state of truly limitless health. Improving your metabolic health is so much simpler than the medical system makes it seem, but it really does require a fundamental shift in how you view your own body. So I want to invite you to ask yourself right now, what would it feel like to have your body functioning optimally? What would it feel like to have a mind working clearly and creatively, completely free from the fear of declining health? What would it truly feel like to have good energy?